Okay, so this is going to be the first of, I hope, a bunch of reviews I do of World War II related things that I watch, read, or do, or play. There's actually some game footage I've already recorded for this. But the purpose of this channel when it was launched a few years ago was for this exact thing. So I consistently take in things that are World War II related, and I was like, there should be a place or a person or a channel where somebody sort of says at least 5 minutes worth of that movie was garbage. This is worth looking at, such and such. So this is the first one of those. I've got another one teed up right behind it, which I started writing 4 years ago, but I'm not going to. I'm rewatching the thing again so I can do it more fresh and whatever. So, Dauntless, the Battle of Midway, which I found accidentally while working, because I work remotely on computers and I have YouTube up and it'll just suggest things to me, and it was like, hey, this is free with ads. I was like, well, that's always a good sign. So I watched it, and I'll give you my opinion. So I didn't hate it. I thought it would be absolutely awful because it falls into this weird category of like the passion project, CG. I don't know how to explain it. Think like Saints and Soldiers, like these low budget passion project World War II movies. This one, though, I didn't hate, but the reasons why are kind of strange. So, all right, so if you saw the Roland Emmerich Battle of Midway, or just Midway, I think they called it, 2 years ago, that was like note for note what actually happened in the Battle of Midway, and that's fantastic, I guess, if you're trying to learn about it. Most people who watch it and liked it probably already knew all that stuff, specifically because you could see it in the Enterprise, what did they call that, Battle 360 thing on the History Channel, where they went over all of that stuff in depth.
Pull out, you're just glued to the seat. You can't move until he straightens out enough.
I watched McCluskey and his two wingmen drop their bomb. They missed.
But that big budget Midway movie hit all of the things that happened. You know, these planes came in and got decimated, and then these planes came in and didn't, and this blew up, and this blew up, and blah, 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 bam, 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 bam. Every famous story. This one focuses just on a Dauntless pilot and his friend who's a PBY crewman slash pilot. I don't remember if he's a pilot or not. I don't think that matters. But what I liked about it was how little they told you about the battle. So you saw this guy take off with his gunner right in the beginning, or pretty close to the beginning, and then, you know, spoiler alert, they get shot down, and then you only ever see what's happening in the battle, either a few mentions in the senior crewman, one who's played by Judd Nelson, which blew my mind when I read that because I didn't even recognize him, but you only really see any other damage to the Japanese carriers from where they're sitting in the water. Like, you'll see an explosion like way over there, and they don't really get into what happened. They're just like, oh, maybe they hit something. And I thought that was cool because you're closing in the focus of the characters onto what they would actually understand, and that's decent filmmaking as opposed to what I expected, which was just corny nonsense. My other opinion on it is the CG is, I think some people may know my background is VFX and CG. It's like a 7, whereas I would call the big budget Midway movie like an 8.5. It's not bad. Every once in a while you'll get a shot where the levels don't match. So if you're not familiar with this line of work, like the blacks won't be the same darkness. So it won't matte correctly. You'll sort of see it and you'll be like, that doesn't look right. Uncanny Valley sort of thing. But not much more than I saw when I watched the big budget Midway movie. So I was impressed. The CG was pretty damn good for a passion project. The casting was better than usual for a passion project.
Stupid, worthless, no good, goddamn freeloading son of a bitch, retarded, big mouth, know-it-all asshole jerk.
Judd Nelson can act. The main characters don't act very well. So your main two characters are the Dauntless pilot who gets shot down, and then his friend is a PBY rescue pilot. And in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna something," and then the war. Like they set up a little bit of exposition, but yeah, it's okay. But that guy can't. Neither of those two guys can act, and that's exhausting a little bit. So like, the VFX shots are good. The overall story is pretty good. The way it's paced and the way it's cut and all these things are good. The acting's pretty crap. That's really my only real complaint, other than I'm not terribly interested in Midway, but I watched it anyway, and I think that I liked the small scope of the story. It's cool. Like, think about Generation War, the German World War II series, where they we're everywhere. We're everywhere that something important happens. None of that bullshit happens. It's just like, we're here. I get shot down floating in the water. No shark attacks, despite being a movie where they're floating in the Pacific Ocean for 2/3 of it. I'm terrified of sharks, so I was waiting for that scene and it didn't come, and I was very thrilled because I'm like, come on, I don't need another movie like this. I've actually never seen the guy who was an Olympic runner and a B-24 pilot, Unbroken. I've never seen that movie because I know it's coming and I don't want to watch that. So at some point I will. But anyway, this movie, it's small scale. It's better than most passion project, low budget World War II movies. So if you're interested in Pacific theater stuff, or you just like kind of watching World War II movies, I guess I would recommend it. It's better than I expected it to be.